Good late Tuesday, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center taking a look at that current Doppler radar picture here across North Florida, South Georgia, and really just the Sunshine State in general. I wanted to have this map up from this perspective because we have some cooler air trying to work its way in again here, and we had a little bit of a dip down, then it kind of moderated, but now some cooler air is going to really stay around here for the next 7 days, which I'll detail more here in that extended outlook in just a few moments. You even see some thunderstorm activity off of the west central Florida coast right now, but at least I'm not seeing anything like what we saw in the state of Florida last week. We were in full alert mode there for Hurricane Nicole, the first hurricane to hit the state of Florida in November since 1985, going all the way back to Hurricane Kate, and the first one to hit the Axel Peninsula at landfall, the peninsula in Florida. They're making that landfall there since 1935. So you really have to go back a long way there in weather history for sure. Looking at some of our different trends right now, you see some of the action here as I zoom on in off of Tampa there right now. You see, I'm not seeing too much rotation. I know we have a little bit of parameters here in play, but they kind of fall off as we get closer to the coast. So that's some good news for those folks down there. But as we get back toward the local area now, we'll kind of see what we're talking about in terms of just the overall temperature trends here toward north central Florida, North Florida, South Georgia as a whole. You do see 68 degrees at the last check around Keystone, 71 toward Gainesville, 64 out toward Tallahassee, but even cooler air toward areas there like Blakely, 57 degrees. You see 40s if I move the map over just a little bit further now here as we get out toward Greenville, Alabama. So some cool air trying to work its way in. I know where I'm at, we're down to 65 degrees here toward the east of Stark, but let's see some of our meso information. It'll kind of see that wind shift there. That's between about Perry, we're at 74, and Tallahassee, we're at 64 right now. That kind of tells you where the cold front is right here on our weather system, kind of seeing that cool air come in from the north and the west versus that flow there, that southerly flow that we've been seeing here, getting some of that warmer air to come into the picture. I know another topic of conversation, though, will be how will that weather impact that Artemis launch? Well, the chances of it actually going up because of the weather here in terms of just the overall clear conditions, that's pretty high here. Those are pretty high is what I'm trying to get at. But as we're watching things here, we are seeing some issues maybe that they're having with some of the fueling, for instance, with that. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on that situation down there. I know it could be kind of hard to see looking here from our area. That's supposed to take place there after about 1 o'clock. Could be as late as about 3 o'clock or so, though. If it does indeed go up, it's been delayed over and over again. The hurricanes have had an impact, delaying it already twice. Ian back in September, Nicole here just recently, and then going back even further, they had the issue that seems to be reoccurring tonight. It was wreaking havoc there as we were going back during the timeline just a little bit as well. So definitely something to just kind of keep our eyes on and see if it actually goes up, that Artemis launch there out of the Cape Canaveral area. But I know we have those clouds around, and that's kind of unfortunate. I know satellite didn't show that quite as well, but the infrared view, but you can see some of those. Again, going to make it kind of hard to see things down there. Maybe you'll get lucky, though, if it goes up. Maybe you can get a view of it here or there, but overall, it's going to be kind of tough to see just in general here from the viewing circle. But we'll keep our eyes on it, obviously. But let's go ahead and go right now over towards some of the traffic cameras. Let me go ahead and pop some of those up here. We have some of those in our system to kind of give you right now. I know checking some different things here at the present time. Just want to go ahead and pop up our one out toward Tallahassee if it's coming on up. And it's still down, it looks like, unfortunately. So was going to make the point, though, toward Leon County that the Florida State Seminoles have my tie on because they have a good winning streak going in college football. I know up to number 19 in the latest college football rankings that came out this evening ahead of even Central Florida. So the highest rated team in the state in college football is the Florida State Seminoles. There, the Florida State Seminoles. They are the highest rated. So that's something to make a note of here for sure. But some of those other cameras here across the region right now. Let's go over toward Jacksonville. You can see here, we'll take a look outside there toward I-95 at Hendricks Avenue. You can see some of the cloud cover around there. Maybe some breaks in there. Maybe we'll get lucky in some spots to be able to see that launch. But let's go ahead and go over to where St. Johns County. You'll be able to see looking pretty cloudy out there toward I-95 at International Golf Parkway, and then we'll take you over now toward Alachua County. We'll give you guys a viewpoint there, and you can see I-75 there at State Road 222. Traffic looks to be moving pretty smoothly there, and then as we get over toward Columbia County, we'll get out toward the Lake City area. You can see here, again, looking pretty good out there. At least we're not seeing too much in the way of rain. We do have some light shower activity in the radar, so let's go ahead and touch on that here in just a moment. We'll move away here from our weather stem perspectives, and we'll get over toward that Doppler radar perspective. So take the infrared off, and you can see here we do have some showers here as we get toward southern Suwannee County there right now, and even areas there as we get up toward parts of northern Lafayette County there, southern Taylor County. It's just hit and miss, and out toward Jefferson County as well. Nothing too significant. I know we've only got about 100th of an inch here on the rain gauge today here to the east of Stark, and as we look back at the last 12 hours in terms of those rainfall amounts, I mean, that's pretty similar story that we're seeing that's set up across the region. That's a pretty similar story that's set up right across the region. So let's go ahead now and get into the graphics. We'll show you what's going on here in terms of some of those different storylines now. There's tropical climatology details. I know just crazy to be talking about a storm system here like we did last week in the month of November, wreaking havoc here toward the state of Florida, but we're really going to be going further and further down with those probabilities now. So those probabilities definitely falling on down. So that's some good news. But Nicole wreaked havoc just like Kate did back in '85. I mean, that anniversary coming up here. The winds were stronger with Kate, but I know that coastal impact's so significant here with Nicole. At least we can cross it off the list now. No new tropical cyclones expected here to form in the next 5 days. But here to look back at Nicole here, portions of the already vulnerable Florida East Coast experienced severe impacts from the surge and the overall set of those winds. As northeasterly winds were just causing issues. That's just not what you want to see. We ended up having those max winds at landfall reached out toward about 75 miles an hour, some higher gusts, but 981 millibars at lowest pressure there, and it made landfall 3 a.m. last Thursday. And unfortunately, we did have 5 fatalities reported there, according to the latest release from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So again, that's something that could change around. It's based on, as we saw with Ian here, based on just the overall number of deaths that are connected directly to the storm's impact. But you can see the broad field here. I mean, we had these winds extending very far from the center, and again, 5 people there did lose their life so far. That's the count. 4 in Orange County around Orlando, and 1 in Duval County here on the First Coast. So it's so tragic to hear about. But then in terms of some of those winds now, those peak gusts locally, Marineland, 72 miles an hour. The St. Johns County Fire Station got up to 71 miles an hour. Gainesville, 62. Mayport, 61 miles an hour. And St. Augustine, 61. So some pretty high gusts in spots. I mean, some of the anemometers aren't going to reach quite as high, but definitely some higher gusts to take note of here in different spots in the community. And then as we go ahead and get towards some of those local rainfall totals, now you see the St. Augustine area. I know there were a few different ones that were in this range. They were top 3 actually. So I just kind of had to put St. Augustine area's top total here on here, so we could kind of go over some of the others on the graphic versus just saying St. Augustine over and over again. But you can see here 4.46 inches, then 4.26 inches toward Fruit Cove, St. John, the community there, 4.14, Jacksonville 4.13, and then Keystone area made the list here, pretty high up in that vicinity. One of the gauges there read over 4 inches, 4.10 inches recorded. So that can help with drought situations to some extent, but we would have liked to have seen more rain there toward the west, but they have those drought conditions that are taking place. So that's something to definitely keep in mind here as we're looking at some different things. I know they got some rain, but they could definitely use more. Now, where we're at, we had an issue with the rain gauge, but in terms of the peak wind gust and the lowest pressure here, got all the way to 42 mile an hour gust. I mean, that's the highest we've had in about 2 years we've had the Davis Weather Station. So that's pretty impressive. That occurred there just after noon on Thursday. We had another one to 41, which was the second highest gust in the last 2 years. That was a little bit earlier on in the timeline that day. So really impressive winds, and that pressure was really low as well. The lowest of the year by a pretty good margin. I mean, 997 millibars they recorded at 1:30 on Thursday afternoon, generally indicating some of the strongest impacts with that system being felt at that time. And then as we look on over now toward Jacksonville and some of the different water level impacts, now that storm surge, that inundation here we're talking about, you can see toward the Riverwalk on the south bank of Jacksonville, the third highest water level ever recorded was during Nicole here. You can see we have Irma still sitting at the top of this list, and Jeanne, by the way, it's so interesting. The Jeanne path was similar to what this one took. The Ian path was similar to what Charlie took back in 04. Granted, Ian here was worse than Charlie for sure, with the overall setup that we had here in store. And then now Jeanne, a little bit stronger storm in some regard, and Nicole for sure as well. So this interesting to compare though. And then and it's the path and the time difference about 6 weeks apart. But then as we look here toward the highest Mayport water levels, you can see Nicole second on this list here. You can see Irma number one, but definitely some high level. And we had all those issues toward Flagler County. I mean, we had literally sand coming in there, sand coming in into people's yards. I mean, getting up pretty high, almost to mailboxes. So just incredible to see, but not what you want to see, obviously. Had issues toward Crescent Beach there, St. Johns County, just up on down the coast there here, having some big time problems. As we look back toward Ian again, I want to give you an update on what's happened there with the fatality count. The last check, now 134 people have lost their life from that. So Nicole really bad, but Ian a whole nother level of historically bad here, as you put things in perspective. But we'll go ahead and show you now the Ian impacts again, just to compare some of them. Locally, the winds were lower, the pressure was higher, meaning a weaker impact, but still definitely noteworthy here for sure as we got toward north central Florida. But as we look at the next 7 days now in terms of that rainfall forecast, you can see not too much rain expected, but we're going to have the chance kind of lingering around here, so you just have to kind of bear that in mind. You can kind of see here the darker green indicative there of about, as we look at our scale here, maybe upward about a quarter half inch. You see a little darker blue slide in there as well. That's on average. Some spots a little more, this spot's less, but you're just going to see not too much rain. You see the areas that really need to rain out towards southwest Georgia. Not as much rain, unfortunately, so not great there. But cloudweather.com/radar gives you an interactive look at things we're not on the air. And then as we look now towards some more here and to show that planning forecast, you can see here, kept the rain chances pretty uniform, 20%. Kind of uncertain exactly where some days might have a little bump here and there, but overall it's kind of hard to discern exactly when the highest rain chances will be in here. But you can see 65 degrees is what I have for the high tomorrow, and that's going to be the highest we get all the way until next Tuesday. But I'll see that here in a moment. You see 60 though Thursday, 59 Friday for the high. So you might have to have the heater on, especially if you're a warmer weather lover. And then as you get here towards Sunday, you can see 59 degrees. Monday, though, it starts to warm up. You see the low at 39 in the morning, first off. But then we start to really get up there a little bit, but still below average for the next 7 days with those highs and those lows. I mean, we're going to be below average as well. So definitely kind of unusual to have a 7-day stretch here below average, but that's what we're going to get here. So have that light, if not even maybe heavier jacket on hand at times. I mean, it's going to be pretty chilly. We're going to have those clouds kind of hanging around from time to time, which suppress those afternoon highs. So definitely going to be kind of interesting here before Thanksgiving, getting some winter-like weather around here. So if you like it, enjoy it. But if you want that warmer weather, I mean, we've had it for a while, but we'll definitely get it back again here as we look ahead later in that timeline. So that's kind of giving you guys a sneak peek there of what we're expecting for the next 7 days. We'll go ahead now and go on over toward the Doppler radar perspective again. You can see those scattered showers, nothing too significant in our area. Again, down toward West Central Florida, a little bit of a different story. Some of the accent trying to work its way in, but not a lot of parameters to work with, it doesn't look like. But we'll be watching all of that. Of course, that rocket launch there, if you look at the southeast from Bradford County, you might be able to see it, but it's going to be kind of cloudy out there. And that's if it goes up in the first place here. That's after about 1:04 in the morning. It's a 2-hour window, so it may not go up right then. Just keep that in mind as well. as we're looking at that. So I know, just kind of seeing what else we need to talk about here. And hope toward Buffalo. I don't have a graphic in here for it, but we want to kind of mention this because it looks like a pretty significant lake effect snowstorm could set up, a lake effect snow event could set up as we get toward western New York later in the week. We could have several days of snow there toward Buffalo, toward Watertown there, toward Rochester, New York. We could be seeing feet of snow. That's a possibility indicated by some of the model guidance. So it could be a pretty significant event for those folks. We don't know the exact details. We don't know how many feet. It could be just 1 foot or 2 feet, or it could be more than that. But just be really careful if you're headed up to that area from here, obviously, because you wouldn't probably be used to that. But just kind of keep an eye on things that could impact the NFL contest between the Buffalo Bills and the Cleveland Browns as well on Sunday. Could result in some type of shift in that, but it's too early to know. Maybe it'll be something they can handle up there. They can definitely handle more snow than we can up there toward western New York, but we'll just have to kind of see how things play on out there with the forecast in the coming days here as we're looking toward those areas. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that. Have more on that on Thursday probably. I think that pretty much is all we need to talk about here today. I know we had a home week last week. This week shouldn't be too crazy, but we'll be watching toward Buffalo. I know at least our logo is blue now, so we're not in alert mode, but we'll be keeping our eyes on things here in the Weather Center. We had a small chance of some stronger storms toward the Big Bend. We retweeted some information about that, but that never materialized. We weren't too concerned about it, but we were on guard here watching things from the Weather Center. But I think that pretty much does it here. Just some cooler air definitely in play, but other folks here still, I mean, in addition to dealing with the core air, having to kind of pick up the pieces here along the coast from what we dealt with there, especially toward Volusia County with our hurricane there, Hurricane Nicole last week, the latest hurricane to hit Florida there since 1985. I mean, just crazy to think about making landfall in Florida anyway. So that'll do it for now. We'll be back on Thursday, but make sure you watch our coverage when we're on with these live updates or anything of significance here in terms of maybe severe weather or national weather story that we need to cut in for. We have Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, all the different platforms. I know sometimes we'll just kind of focus on YouTube and Twitter if we have a situation here that is a little bit more marginal type in nature. I know that's what we did for Friday, and those severe storms, those tornado warning storms towards areas in North Carolina and Virginia from what we were doing with what was left in Nicole. So just trying to break that all down for you, but have a great night.